Welcome back, everybody, to another video. And unfortunately, this is the part where I have a confession to make. And the confession is I am not immune to the hype train. Let's be honest, the Blue Eyes structure deck is awesome. I mean, it is, I think, arguably the best structure deck to have ever come out. I know the other ones in contention is probably the Monarch structure deck. I think it's a close contention, but the thing about the Blue Eyes structure deck is that it is a compact, consistent, fairly repeatable combo that also is just, you can get it for $30 and you get a full hand trap suite with it. So it's like, it is the most, I mean, obviously Dino Smashers and Monarchs are good, and there are even accounts of people like topping regionals with 3 times Dino Smashers, but I think we will almost certainly see that again with this one, and we will see it pop up as a supplementary engine in so many different strategies, because it really is just so incredibly flexible, because it's small, it's compact, and every card searches each other, and you just have repeatability in each other, and it's fantastic. I love what has happened with this. And this is my own personal take on it. I have realized I've started slotting some engines into everything. Like my last 3 decks that I've brewed have essentially just been Kashtira, Azamina, and then something that is a normal summon. Spoiler alert, you can play Kashtira, Azamina, Dynamorphia. I mean, they don't feed into each other very well. You can't search each part of the engine with others, but like, you know, it's good. It's more a grind game. You can play the Dynamorphia cards. It's fantastic. But I think this one is probably the most potent, because the Blue Eyes cards are insane. So without further ado, let's get into it. We'll see if I show any real combos towards the end of this. We've all seen the combo videos, but I will probably do like one test hand so I can show you, hopefully, well, given the randomness of it, so I can hopefully show you the kinds of ratios you can see, and we can see how a hand might play out with this, depending on everything. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start off with the Blue Eyes portion, which is by far the largest portion of this. And we're going to start off with 3 Sage. Now, this is unsurprising. I mean, this card is obviously an incredible starter, and I would argue is actually the best starter, because there is no hard ones per turn on that normal summon. It's a normal summon. I mean, why would you put a hard ones per turn in a normal summon? You only get 1 normal summon per turn, right? 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 Spoiler alert, no, not right. So this one's the best because it gets you into full combo, and it also, you will get a second search off of it if you start with 1 in your hand, and so then you can get just an extra piece of interaction, an extra end word piece. So Sage, definitely our number 1 starter, would not go less than 3. 3 Maiden, also the same. Not quite as good because it leaves you -1 effect failure, but it's not that huge of a deal, and Maiden is definitely the second most important card to get around, because, I mean, activating True Light from the deck is what we want to do. True Light is a great grind piece. It's kind of susceptible, but we do have some ways of getting around it. That being said, Maiden is also an incredible grind piece because she just continually brings herself back. If you special summon a Blue Eyes, you have lots of ways of special summoning Blue Eyes in this deck, and then she also can just sit around and summon Blue Eyes herself. So altogether a fantastic starter. 3 Neo Kaiser Seahorse. This is our worst starter. If Sage is incredible, Neo Kaiser is just good. That being said, we want a critical mass of starters in this deck, so we want 3. He leaves you down 1 fewer interruption in, you don't get seals, or depending on how you want to play, a second Spirit Dragon. But still perfectly acceptable, just fine. And if you have the other cards, he is a good extender, so he has utility in through that. So yeah. And then, of course, 2 Blue Eyes. I mean, this shouldn't be very surprising. I don't think you need 3. I mean, 3 is just really overkill. This deck actually handles bricking on Blue Eyes a little better because we have so many other ways to use cards in the hand. But that being said, I mean, he might get bestialed. 2 is fine. Yeah, I don't see any reason to. So those are monsters, and then the spells we have 3 Wishes. This is your other really good starter. It is way heavy ash bait. Like, obviously this is going to be your ash bait, but luckily with some of our supplemental engines, you have a pretty good way of being able to get things out to protect this from ash pretty easily. But this just searches you Sage and then searches you an extender or an extra endboard piece, depending on what your hand is. It equips the new Ultimate Fusion, and which I think is great for targeting protection against your endboard. I mean, this card just does everything. It's so fantastic. And then the one-ofs, we have one Roar, one Mausoleum because you search it, one True Light because you search it, and one Majesty as another option to search. Majesty is actually one of the main arguments for putting in a third Blue Eyes, but I feel like having 3 pops instead of Icarus Attack is probably overkill. I mean, 2 pops off of this thing you are just so happy to have that anyway. And your mainline combo only cycles through 2 Blue Eyes. So really, if you have Majesty, there's really no good way to get a third Blue Eyes into rotation on the first turn. So it will only be 3 pops on turn 2 or 3 onward, which, who needs that? 2 pops is just fine going first. Roar is the key way of getting your second Blue Eyes into rotation. Most of the time in the mainline combo, you'll be searching out Roar as your second spell trap that mentions Blue Eyes, because it just gets your second Blue Eyes out of the deck where you might draw it and into the graveyard you can extend with it. But that being said, if you open some of these in duplicates, you can just quite easily search Majesty. So that's the Blue Eyes main deck package. Once again, it's pretty concise. I mean, we have 12 1-card starters and then 6 soft garnets. All of these are soft garnets. You might think True Light is a hard garnet, but Maiden can activate it from hand, so it's really just a soft garnet. But so altogether, an 18-card engine. This deck overall is 48 cards because we want the ratios to be fine, but the ratios are just fine here. So that is Blue Eyes. Next up, we have the Kashtiras. Quite simple. We have 3 Unicorn, 3 Fenrir, 1 Birth. I mean, this is about it. You could make the argument that you would prefer to have 3 Raitsoth instead of 3 Neo Kaiser Seahorse, but bricking on multiple Kashtira is way worse than having like 1 or 2 Blue Eye starters and Kaiser Seahorse in your hand, because the Kaiser Seahorse is a way better extender. And you really only need to see one of these. I mean, starting with Fenrir alone, if you have nothing else, is a little worse than starting with Unicorn because you don't have the grind game. But if you just play Fenrir and search Unicorn, that means you have the Fenrir interrupt and you have Unicorn follow-up to search Birth and then bring the Fenrir back and start going to town. So the Kashtira engine is just so good. It's obviously worse if we don't have anything to do with it. I mean, a lot of these decks will go into... I know the Crystron deck uses these to go into Dracosack, into Cherubini, into Dump Smiger. But, I mean, we don't need to do that. We're perfectly happy to just have the extra body, have the grind game of Birth. Honestly, Birth is just a teensy bit of an interrupt, because given the right circumstances, you can use Birth to, like, banish some... Malice from grave or Ryzeals from grave, and that's just so useful. This card does unbelievably so much. But the real reason to play Kashtira, I don't think you should play Kashtira Blue Eyes on your own. I think really you should combine the Kashtira cards with the Azamina cards because they just work so well together. So 3 Diabell Star, 3 Wanted, 1 Deception, 1 Hallowed, and then 1 Sinful Spoils of Slumber Morion. Now, a couple of notes. I'm only playing 1 Deception, really just because I'm poor. You could play 3 Deception, but I personally don't think Deception is really the one you want to see multiples of. You really would prefer to see Wanted first and foremost, because then that gives you, a little follow-up, and it can recycle your Morion. And seeing multiple Diabell Stars is fine, because if you don't have anything else... If you have Azaminas and Kashtiras, but you don't have any of the Blue Eyes, you could just normal the second Diabell Star and like make an IP or something. So it can be an extender. But Deception just doesn't do as much because we only have Hallowed Azamina, and so drawing multiple Deceptions sucks. I mean, it really, really blows. Plus, it's $30, and you just search it out and recycle it so well. So, like, I don't see a reason to use 3 Deception over anything else. And frankly, the ratios are totally okay here as it is. You aren't really hurting for supplemental engine pieces. But the real reason we're doing this is because if you start with Wanted plus a Kashtira, You can special say it's Fenrir. Fenrir is the best one to start with. So here we'll show a little bit of it. You can go. So say you start with Fenrir Wanted. You can go Wanted, search Diabellstar, special Fenrir search Unicorn, Diabellstar send the Fenrir, activate Deception send the Diabellstar, add Hallowed, and then you have no monsters on field, so you can special Unicorn, activate Birth, bring back the Fenrir, and then you now just have full Azamina combo with a Unicorn and a Fenrir on hand for excellent value and interruption. I mean, it's important to note just how important the Unicorn banish can be sometimes. I mean, stealing their Zeus is important. Stealing their Requiem, if they're only on one Requiem, is strong. But oftentimes, you can get out the Unicorn, and nobody wants to interrupt a Unicorn. I mean, if the first thing you do is special Unicorn add Birth, they're not going to do anything with that. But the moment they Ash you, or they Droll you, or they Valor you, you can rip their Detonator out of their deck, and then the moment they attempt to do anything else, you rip the other Detonator out of their deck. And suddenly they have no Detonators left. So the fact that so many of these top tier decks are playing a lot of supplemental extra deck spaces instead of redundancy is really valuable to you as a Kashtira player, because it's an axis of interruption that not a ton of people are thinking about. And then we are playing 48 cards, so we actually have room for a good chunk of non-engine. 3 Ash, obviously. I mean, I never want to say obviously. We should be able to look at our hand traps and go, is this useful? But Ash is really just so useful. I mean, you really need to be able to hit some of these. Funnily enough, Malice is the worst thing it is, because you can't really hit very many things off of it. But even then, it's just so useful against every rogue deck. It's so useful against Ryzeal because it can hit basically any of their Ryzeal effects that you think is a choke point. I wouldn't go anywhere without my Ashes. 3 Nibiru, this card's fantastic. It is so good against both Ryzeal and Malice. Because the Fiendsmith Ryzeal variant is so popular, they will oftentimes go through Fiendsmith combo before using some extenders to commit to a duo drive or a detonator. So you will often have the ability to Nibiru before they get to a duo drive to search Ryzeal Cross if Nibiru is your only hand trap. And if Nibiru isn't your only hand trap, you can just stop their duo drive and then Nibiru them at the end of their turn. It's just fantastic. Yeah, really good. Love Nibiru this format. We're on 2 Valor. I know people are going to be like, oh, Cody, why are you only playing 2 Valor? You search it so hard with Sage. Why are you playing 3? Well, because we search it with Sage. I don't want to see so many Valors. It's good, but it's not really good enough against things. I mean, the problem is you don't want to let people have fodder on field because there's just so many extra deck options to go into. And so using Valor to stop something like a duo drive or a Dormouse or a White Binder or something like that, it's just not good enough. It's good, don't get me wrong, and we search it with Sage. It's a key part. It's almost arguably not non-engine because it is a level 1 light tuner, but it is not so strong that I want to play 3 of it and see multiples of it in a game. And then we're on a minor Bestial package. We're on 1 Baldrake and 1 Magnamut. The only reason I have Baldrake is because Druid's Worm is $30 inexplicably, and I just can't be bothered to buy a Druid's Worm. Frankly, I'm upset that it's that expensive. Like, I know there's a ton of demand, but people were opening Dabble left and right, and then it was also reprinted. Like, you cannot convince me that Druid's Worm is more popular right now than it was in Ishizu tier format, where people were jamming 3 Magnamut and 3 Druid's Worm and arguably a couple of Saronir in every single deck, and it was 15 at the time without a reprint. Like, I hate and I cannot understand why Druid's Worm is continuing to shoot up when the demand for it doesn't really seem to have increased. Mind-boggling. But anyway, Baldrake is fine. It's not Druid's Worm, but it's okay. It has some things, and really you just want something, you want like 1 or 2 Bestials that you can use. And we only get 1 Magma. So, 1 spell, 1 Called By. I mean, Called By's good. It's just good. You aren't so choke pointed like the Ryuga deck that you need like cross out or anything in the main board. You have redundancy, you have extenders, and you can set up the Azamina Omni before you go commit to any of your Blue Eyes plays. But Called By is just good. And then 3 Imperm. because Imperm is just good. So all told, that is 14 non-engine in our 48 card deck. So you'll generally see like 1.5 hand traps. But we also, we have we have Unicorn, we have Azamina stuff. We have so much gas in our engines going second that I don't mind having a slightly lower non-engine count. Okay, that is the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So we are playing 2 Spirit of White. You want to play 2 because the mainline combo does go through 2 if you want to go through Spheres and not go into a second Spirit Dragon. And spoiler alert, Spheres is really good, so we play 2. There is an argument to be made for 3 in case you want to be able, but like we have so much ability to revive Blue Eyes that it's not really that good to have 3. You don't really want to be going into it that much after turn 1. So 2 is just fine. IP, SP, solid, good. If you have any extension or any extra bodies, you can just use it to go into these fellas. It's good. It's fine. That's the links for our Xyz. We're simply on 1 Dark Armed, 1 Zeus. I currently prefer Dark Armed only because 2 pops I think is better than 1 Steel. That being said, obviously the pops are not as good into Ryzeal, and so if you wanted to play Big Eye instead, you could definitely... I think Big Eye is definitely an argument to be made. I think I just had a Dark Armed and I didn't have a Big Eye, and so I just put it in the Dark Armed. But those are really your choices. You could play Shanger Era. I don't think it's that good. It's a little grindy, but we already have so much grind that it's not really necessary, and you can't really take advantage of it with like a Scareclaw Cache or Tear Cache or a Rise Heart. So for the Synchros, 2 Spirit Dragon, 2 Ultimate. I think I actually want to switch out one of these Ultimates for a Light Storm. I'm a little questioning about that. Obviously, going into a second Spirit into second Ultimate Spirit is really quite good. It is very powerful. In addition, if you wanted to switch the extra deck up, you could replace this with Crimson Dragon and then toss in a Cosmic Blazar, because as it turns out, Spirit Dragon can just tag into Crimson Dragon for some reason, but I also just don't have that much cheddar floating around. I don't have the money for Crimson Dragon right now. So, and then for our fusions, we're on 1 Murcielago, 1 Ilya Silva, and the Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. You don't make this. Blue Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes White. Yeah, you don't have enough Blue Eyes White Dragons in your deck to be able to make this, even considering you play some of the Blue Eyes spells that allow you to fusion from the grave. This just, you equip it with wishes, I can never remember which one it actually is. You equip it with wishes and you send to the grave as a targeting negate. So, and that, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm a big dummy. Apparently I have put together a 14 card extra deck. What would Big Eye, either Big Eye or the other Azamina. There's one more Azamina, Ursikthon or something like that. He's a send. So either Big Eye or Ursikthon, I think, would be the 15th, just as a flex option. You really have your core extra deck here, and you don't really need anything more than that. Man, I cannot believe I put in a 14 card. I can't believe I don't know how to count. That's 14 cards. What the heck, man? And then real quick, the side deck. It's basically unchanged. 3 Lancia, Malice. 3 Eclipse, Ryzeal. 3 Crossout, the format. 3 Evenly, the format. 3 D-Barrier, the format. I mean, it's just good. Possible slots, you could swap out a couple of D-Barriers or Evenlies for triple thrust if you had them. I don't, so I don't put them in. Okay, let's do a test hand real quick. We'll do one test hand. I mean, I don't know if I really want to go through any of the combos in a vacuum. So why don't we just do a test hand and we can see what we find. So hey, how about that weather? For anyone curious, new baby is here and he's doing well. Lorenzo James was born. Wonderful. Maybe maybe that doxes me, but who cares? I'm making Yu-Gi-Oh content. He was born on February 13th. 8 pounds, 8 ounces. Very cool. He's a baby. Not going to show any pictures, but yeah, he's cool. He's very grumpy. He looks grumpy all the time. It's a grumpy pants. Okay, enough gabbing. Let's do test hand. So we have, excellent. We have 2 engines. So we have Maiden, Imperm, Nibiru, Diabellstar, Diabellstar. So that is 2 combos, our most prolific combos, plus 2 hand traps. So this is honestly a fantastic hand. So what we're going to do here is we're going to special Diabellstar by sending Diabellstar. We're going to add, or we're going to set, forgive me, Deception. Activate Deception. Let me make sure this is on camera. Yeah, it's totally on camera. Activate Deception. Deception effect. Tribute the Diabellstar for the Hallowed Azamina. And then we will Hallowed Azamina send to summon Murcielago. Murcielago effect to add Morian. So this is our hand currently. Now, the argument to be made is you could start going through the Blue Eyes combo in case you had enough extenders that you could make an IP off this Murcielago and actually use it. But I don't think that's super necessary, so we'll just activate Hallowed Azamina, return Murcielago to the deck to add Hallowed Azamina back, and then we'll activate Hallowed Azamina, send Spoils to summon Ilia Sylvia. And then, last but not least, we'll activate Morian to reset Morian. So, off of just Diabellstar, well, Diabellstar and 1 card in hand, we have an Omni Negate and a Book of Moon. This will get banished, but if you had a Wanted instead of Diabellstar, you can very easily recycle this back and draw a card. So, you can get this back. Now that we've insulated ourselves, we will pitch this Maiden to activate a True Light from our deck. We'll use the True Light's effect to set a Wishes from the deck. We'll activate Wishes, pitching this Nibiru. I mean, we're going first. We don't really need Nibiru. Like, we're setting up a combo. It's not really necessary. We're going to add Sage and Roar. Fantastic. We have not normaled yet, so we will normal Sage effect to add Effect Veiler. And then we will link Sage away for Spirit of White. Spirit with Eyes of Blue, forgive me. Spirit's effect to add Mausoleum of White. Mausoleum of White, activate. Effect targeting the Spirit. Now, I have had people talk to me and say, "Wait, why not use Roar to summon a Blue Eyes and then get Maiden back?" Because if you activate Roar, never mind. That's a good question. For some reason, it didn't work on EDO Pro, but you totally could. But because we're not running 3 Blue Eyes, we don't need to do that or risk it. So we will simply send a Blue Eyes with Mausoleum. We will tribute the Spirit of White to bring the Blue Eyes back. And then that will bring back the Maiden. And then we can Synchro Summon a Spirit. Now, why don't... Oh, because we already used Wishes. We didn't start with Wishes. So in that case, let's see. So what does it say? Special summon... Oh, because we can't special summon non-dragons while Spirit of White is on the field. So if we used Roar, we wouldn't be able to summon Maiden right there. So it's not really what I'm looking for. So you could grab the Trap instead, but we grabbed this in case we have a little bit of follow-up. So this board, which started off, and then of course we're going to set our Imper. So we end on the minor Floodgate of Spirit. I don't think there's any deck that actually uses Spirit, that actually takes advantage of Spirit's Floodgate, but that's okay. We have and then end phase Deception gets reset. And so that when we use our Ilia Sylvia, we can get the Hallowed Azamina back, we can send Deception and keep grinding away, grinding our opponents into dust. So we have the Spirit Dragon, and then we do have the Spirit Dragon negate, which is useful. It does come up that you can negate things with Spirit Dragon. Fun fact, if they Ghost Ogre your True Light while you have Spirit out, you can negate the True Light effect so you don't lose your board. Very useful. We have the Book of Moon with Morian. We have the Elias Sylvia negate, and then this can tag when we need it. Oh, I forgot to use Wishes. So let's just imagine we used Wishes as well, equipped to our Blue Eyes, so we have a targeting protection as well, to summon Ultimate. And then now our opponent can't Bestial us. We have an Omni Negate on the field. If it's destroyed by a card effect, we can float it back into our Spirit Dragon. I mean, this is a bunch of layered interaction. And then, of course, we have the True Light to grind back, where we can go, okay, bring the Blue Eyes back, which then brings the Maiden back, and then it's just all very good. If we had had a Kashtira instead of the second Diabellstar, I mean, this would be nuts. We would have summoned, if we had a Fenrir, we'd summon this board would be this whole board plus Fenrir and Unicorn. I mean, it's nutty. So I really like this deck. I really love the Kashtira Azamina engine, and I think the Blue Eyes option makes this a incredibly potent budget deck. I mean, the Kashtira engine might be the most expensive part. I mean, Fenrir is probably 15, so Fenrir's plus Unicorns, which I think were about 6, you're probably looking at about $70 to $80 for the Kashtira engine. The Azamina engine, the only expensive card was Deception, and you only have one, so you could probably build this deck for about $150 to $200, which, hey, when Ryziel is a rent payment, I mean, come on, that's pretty good. But anyway, I'm really excited about this one. Obviously, with a newborn, I probably won't be able to attend locals for a while, but my siblings and I are looking to have some locals among us pretty soon here. So I will report back on how this deck does. But until then, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.